Hey guys, Nick here with VanCan, and I think now is a good opportunity to answer a question I get a lot, and that's what bike am I riding, what parts am I riding, and all that kind of stuff. So let's get to it. So I'm just going to go piece by piece, basically from the top of the bike, the front of the bike, all the way to the back, bottom of the bike. And really the base, the essence of my bike was a Specialized Enduro Elite. Now, that was the 2020 model. It was new. It looks a lot different now. We'll get to that when we start talking about the frame. But for now, let's start at the grips. Basically, these are just the Specialized lock-on grips that come with, I think, most Specialized bikes. And you know what? I'll give a mini review of all these parts while I'm at it. These grips, not bad. I wear gloves most of the time. Well, pretty much 99% of the time. And I find when you wear gloves, it doesn't matter as much the way your grips feel. But these are okay. I'd ride them again, but I think next time I'd go with something like the Senses grips. I really like those. So moving over to the brakes, we have the Code RSC brakes from SRAM. Again, they're really good. No complaints really. The brakes, they stop me. Now, I know a lot of people don't like the modulation, or they prefer Shimano's sort of instant bite. I'd ride either brakes. The brakes feel fine to me. Right below it, I have the SRAM X01 shifter. Shifters, I don't think I've ever noticed if I've had a good shifter or not. Now, what I'd really like to try is the Axis one, you know, the fully electronic one. But for now, I've got this X01 shifter. Seems to push well, seems to feel good. I think maybe there's extra bearings in there compared to maybe the GX or SX models and things like that. But feels good to me. Again, no complaints. No complaints is like the highest praise. If you have these kind of parts, you don't want to think about them, right? You just want your gears to work. So if they're just working, you shouldn't notice them, and that's the way I feel about this. So it's all good. So moving down the line, or maybe across it, I'm using the 1UP carbon bars, and this is one of those parts that I was pretty skeptical. Carbon bars always kind of freaked me out, but all my friends, everyone I know was raving about how good these bars were, and so far, I really like them. They're quite a bit lighter than the bars that I had on, and as far as I can tell, they feel really good. Again, this is another part where you don't really want to have to think about that. You can feel it, or that it feels really different or strange, and that's the way I feel about these bars. Basically, I get on, I don't notice them, the bike feels good to me, and I don't think about them. So, 1UP carbon bars, pretty good. And to hold these bars, I'm using the 1UP stem. I think it's called the EDC stem. And another thing, basically with stems, even, you know, the generic stem that this bike came with, sort of the weird round one or whatever it was, I think it's just one of the Specialized, you know, homemade parts, it worked well. But when it comes to stems, I care a lot about how they look. I think it's kind of like one of those defining features of a bike. You want to look at a cool stem, and that's mostly why I bought this one. And so it could fit the 1UP bars. I figure if I had the 1UP bars, I'd do the 1UP stem. I think it looks great. And so far, I mean, as long as it doesn't break, no complaints. Yeah, pretty nice. Moving down a bit, I have the Butcher tires. These are kind of like Specialized, you know, Maxxis Minions, or I actually don't know any other brands of tires right now, but I would say they're really similar to the DHFs. I've heard people have mixed feelings about them, but they feel pretty good to me. I'd ride them again, and yeah, they feel like they have a lot of grip to me. I do think that I like that the sort of the edge knob here has a bit more sort of, you know, it's coming out a bit. It seems to grab, you know, when you really lean the bike, I sort of feel that it's grabbing a bit more. I like that. So yeah, Butcher tires, 2.6 in the front, all good. So this is another part where I was pretty skeptical when I first heard about them, and I was like, I don't know, it doesn't sound like a good idea, but I've definitely come around, and that's the rims that I'm using. These are the Noble TR38s. Now, full disclosure, they did help me out a bit with these rims and the hubs, but I really like them. I've had them for a few months now, and I haven't had to do anything with them. The spokes are all super tight still, the rim is super true. I feel like I've beat them up quite a bit, but they're handling it just fine. And so far, I mean, they're the best wheel that I've ever used. I would like to try and switch out to some aluminum rims that are pretty similar, because I think that The stiffness of the rim is what's making my bike feel pretty poppy, and if I had an aluminum rim, maybe I would feel sort of a bit more give in the corners and stuff like that. But right now, I don't know, because I've only ever ridden carbon rims on this bike. I just know that it feels poppy. But maybe that's something I'll do down the line. So, Noble TR38 carbon rims, really like them. Now I also did realize that I have a bunch of sort of gadgets and things on my bike, a bunch of little extra pieces, and in the rim is maybe the first one I ever started using, and that's Cushcore. And again, full disclosure, they did send me this Cushcore, and actually, if you're thinking about buying Cushcore, I have a discount for my patrons for 20% off, only for the Americans, sorry. But Cushcore is something that basically I wanted to try it out, I think about 2 years ago. They sent me a first set, and I've basically been hooked on it ever since. It just protects the wheel, lets me run lower pressures, gives me all the grip I need, and I don't think I'll ride a bike without it. Now, in the rim, in the wheel, thing that holds it all together, the hub, I'm using the Industry 9 Hydra hubs. Now the front hub, I mean, that's another one where you really don't want to have to think about it or do anything to it. It should just feel smooth and look good, and that's what this i9 hub does for me. I think it looks good, feels really smooth, no problems with it, so A+. I already sort of mentioned this up at the cockpit, but these are the SRAM code brakes. Basically the caliper and disc, just what you get in that whole little kit. No modifications here really. Now moving up to the Fox 36, this is the, I think the Performance Elite model with the grip damper. I've thought about buying the Grip 2 damper because a lot of people seem to really like it, but I feel like the grip damper is working just really well for me, and I don't really feel the need that I have to change the low and high speed compression or anything like that. The stock tune feels really good to me. And I think I'm running 75 PSI in the fork with 1 token, and that's working really well for me so far. I think that might be a bit too soft, say if I brought it to the bike park, but I like it the way it is for trail riding. And again, we've got another little gadget here. A little extra is a fender. I think this is like the Mucky Nuts fender or something like that. Basically it's just a piece of plastic, folds in, you zip tie it to your fork. I think the Fox fork has threaded holes in here somewhere where you can put, better fenders in there, which I should probably do. But I've always just used these little plastic ones that you zip tie and they work really well. So that just keeps all the mud from kind of coming up to the frame and keeps your seals a little bit cleaner. So again, I think it looks cool. So that's like probably 90% of the reason I do it, but it does what it's supposed to do. And so I keep using them. Also in the cockpit up here, and well, in the frame too, is the SWAT system that comes with Specialized bikes. And that just keeps this little Allen key tool in here. There's a couple Allen keys, Torx wrench, and well, that's it. But that's 99% of what I need when I'm on the trail. And so that just stores away in here. Nice like that. And who could forget the nice, cool VanCan sticker, which you can also get if you sign up on Patreon. Now I guess I should actually talk about the most important part of a bike, and that's the frame. And so I'm riding the 2020 Specialized Enduro, the S-Works model. And now the reason I have this S-Works model is because a lot of you know I actually cracked my first frame within, I think, like a month of having it. And I think that was just, as far as I can tell, just maybe a manufacturing defect. So within a week, they had me this frame built up and ready to go, which is really awesome. And the S-Works frame is basically the exact same frame that I had, except for there's just an extra carbon link in here. Well, not an extra link, but this link was aluminum on my old bike, and it's carbon now. And I save, I think, like the 200 grams or something like that, which is nice, so no complaints. And yeah, I really like this frame. Specialized S-Works Enduro 2020. And we're slowly making our way to the back of the bike. This is just this specialized water bottle holder that came with the bike. Again, seems to do its job. Water bottles haven't flown out of it yet. And so, it's black, it looks cool. It's doing its thing. No plans to switch it out anytime soon. And then in it, I've got this Fox water bottle, also black. You're probably noticing I have a thing for black components and black everything. But yeah, that's just the general theme of the bike this year. Maybe I'll go all colorful next year, but we'll see. All right, so moving down the bike, we have this specialized seat that it came with my bike, which is pretty good. I think I'm gonna switch this out at some point to something that, fits my butt a little bit better. It's not super comfortable, but I think that's me more than the seat. I mean, it feels pretty cool to me. And the dropper post I'm using, again, this came with the bike. It's an X-Fusion Manic dropper post, 170 mil. And a lot of people in the comments were telling me, you know, oh, it's terrible, I gotta get rid of it. But I've been using it for a few months now, using it in the wet, and it's still running really smooth, and I really like it. So if it holds up like this for, you know, another couple months before I have to surface it, I'll say it was pretty great. Okay, so moving down the bike, we have the rear shock, which is the Fox DPX2 Performance. Yeah, no complaints about this shock. I actually wish I had, I think it's the X2, sort of that big air can shock. I'd like to try that one out. But I finally kind of figured out a tune that seems to feel pretty good. I think I have about 315 PSI and a mid-sized volume spacer in there. And so far that feels pretty good. I actually think I might put an even bigger volume spacer in there and drop down the pressure a little bit more. But so far so good. We'll see how it handles when I ride trails that are a little more aggressive. Moving down, we've got the SRAM Descendant cranks. Again, cranks are one of those things where I just don't want to have to think about them. I just want them to look good. And again, that sort of fits that category. Don't plan on switching them out or anything like that. I am using the 1UP Components pedals. I really like these pedals. These have been my go-to pedal for the last, I think, 2 years or so now. I really like 1UP. I mean, they're local, sort of. They're in Squamish. They're Canadian. They do some really awesome engineering. And so I've been really happy with the products they've been putting out. All right, so we're at the back of the bike, and there's a couple parts that are all the same. You know, I'm using the Noble TR38 rim in the back. I've got the Butcher, which is a 2.3 in the back, which is a setup I think I'll do again, but I think I'll switch up the tires just so I can compare them. I'll probably do a Maxxis Assegai in the front with, you know, the 2.5 or 2.6, however big they get, and I'll do like a 2.3, maybe a DHR2 or something a little faster rolling in the back, and we'll keep that at a 2.3, something a little thinner. And then I am using the i9 Hydra hub in the back. I mean, all you need to know is, well, let's just listen to it. And that's a big reason why I bought this hub specifically. I wanted that lots of engagement, and I wanted that loud hub sound. I think I might go totally opposite next time and do the Vesper hub totally quiet. And you know what? It turns out what I don't want is that in between. You know, a click that's just loud enough to hear with terrible engagement. I don't want that. I want lots of engagement and either a quiet hub or a really loud one. So I'm using the X01 derailleur with a GX cassette. That's just what came stock on my bike when I bought it. And since I have no complaints really, seems to shift well, I haven't bothered changing it. Two more little gadgets here that I remembered I have, which is the Shut the F Up system here. Basically, stops your chain from, you know, smashing all about, sort of just breaks up that big hit that hits your frame. Similar to the ribs that Specialized has here. My bike was already pretty quiet, but now that I have this on, I think it's super quiet. I should probably change these out for black zip ties so it blends in. I'll get around to it. Another thing is I'm pretty bad at timing my pedal strokes, and I end up smashing my cranks a lot. So I am using these little crank booties just to keep the cranks looking at least okay. I know usually those are for carbon cranks, but I decided I'd try them out and try and save my cranks a little bit. And actually, the Shut the F Up system, if you're thinking about buying it, I do have a discount code, again, for my patrons on Patreon. Moving a bit down, I am using the SRAM Eagle chainring up front, 30-tooth up front, nothing special. One thing I did add to this bike, which I wish more bikes came with, is the 1UP bash guard and chain guide. Now the bike did come with a chain guide, but it didn't come with a bash guard. And I really like having this just because of that off chance, you know, you scrape against a rock or something like that. I just like knowing my chain isn't gonna potentially break off at some point. And who could forget one of the biggest selling points of the frame, the SWAT Box. So you pull off your water bottle cage here and you've got all this room. I actually have a whole jacket in there right now for when it gets cold, but you can store all sorts of things in there. And it goes along the whole frame here. Basically, it's just a huge hole where you can store all your stuff. And now that I don't ride with a pack at all, yeah, I don't know if I can go back. I just love having nothing on me. It's all on the bike. Every bike I have from now on is gonna need some sort of storage. And so the last thing that's on my bike that I forgot to mention is that it's ride wrapped. This is actually a matte black bike, but I got the gloss wrap to make it look a little different, and I think it turned out pretty well. Basically, I just wanted it to keep the frame all protected because, well, it was super expensive to buy, and when I sell it, I want to hopefully get most of my investment back. So the next person who gets it is going to have a nice, clean looking bike with minimal scratches. And okay, I think that's everything on my bike. If I forgot something or you have a question about one of the parts, or maybe I forgot to mention something and you want to know what it is I'm using, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one.